Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation for INGROUP Online. This project focuses on unpacking the association between subjective norms and alcohol use in college students. College students are at risk of problematic alcohol use behaviors, with normative beliefs being one of the most consistent predictors of alcohol use in this population. Now, college students bounded within sport teams have particularly risky profiles, and research conducted in our lab and by other researchers provides evidence that sport team norms, evaluations of what is typical or acceptable within one's group, are potent and consistent predictors of risky behaviors. Now, we conducted this study to advance what we know about this link, but we were particularly focused on the question for which groups or which individuals are these norm behavior associations the strongest. Now, we focused on two lenses. First, we considered how the norm behavior association differed regarding whether individuals embrace their group's social identity. And then we also focused on the group's network structure, with a focus on affiliations or friendships among members. As you can identify in the graph on the right, it's interesting to ask whether groups with a really dense structure might adhere to norms differently than groups with a less dense structure. And then also, even within a given group, it's also of interest to ask whether individuals who are more central within an affiliation network, such as the green circle member, might face differing pressures around normative adherence than an individual who maintains fewer connections with others. As a result, we conducted the current study to examine the association between perceived sport team alcohol use norms and behavior. And we focused on a three-level approach, assessing individuals' own beliefs and behaviors, and looking at responses bounded both within person across several points in time, but also bounded within groups. We assessed over 1,000 club-level athletes spanning over 35 teams from student-run sport clubs that train throughout the year and compete against other schools. Athletes completed self-report measures of their own alcohol use, norms of other team members, the strength of their social identity within the team, and then also a roster-based peer nomination measure where they completed a Likert-type response indicating how often they interact with each teammate away from training. And this tool was used to produce indices of group density and a member's centrality within the group. I will first note descriptives. Athletes reported about 11 alcoholic drinks per week, but perhaps not surprisingly, this was skewed with a relatively larger number of students reporting low to moderate alcohol use. There was also some evidence of clustering within groups, with ICCs ranging from about 0.14 to 0.18 within group across time. But the nature of our data set did give us an opportunity to actually assess the degree to which consensus emerged within groups. As described by Lang and colleagues, ICCs present some challenges because we can't use them to distinguish between situations where members within groups demonstrate increasing ICCs because members are truly becoming more similar over time, such as what you might see in the left of that orange box, compared to situations where groups are actually becoming more disparate from one another over time, even where members maintain the same variance within the group. Now, consensus emergence modeling involves a null three-level model where the focus is on identifying whether decreasing residual variance for a construct is left over after accounting for group and time point. I present here one set of findings related to injunctive norms, but ultimately we identified that both norms and alcohol use were both variables where consensus emerged within groups over time. Regarding key results, I present only the results of injunctive norms. We identified several predictors of alcohol use directly, particularly revealing a strong association between subjective norms and alcohol use as expected. Regarding moderation, we predominantly identified interactions at the within-person level, along with one interaction within degree centrality at the between-person level. Now, I'll depict it on the figure to the right of this slide. Although athletes, what this figure demonstrates is that although athletes in this study who held higher beliefs that alcohol use was permissible, generally drank to a higher extent, we see that being less tightly connected in the group overall meant that you'd report behaviors that were more closely tied to the group norm. Comparable interactions existed at the within-person level, whereby individuals demonstrated closer associations between subjective norms and reported alcohol use when they were either more strongly identifying with their group than they did at other time points, or when they were less central in the group, than other time points. Ultimately, this is really a large-scale field study spanning 35 teams. We replicated studies demonstrating a strong positive association between subjective alcohol use norms and behavior. And we identified several constructs that moderated this association, although findings seem most consistent for identity strength and centrality within the group, and were strongest at the within-person level. And also, this study really provides evidence of how these variables demonstrated some emergent properties.